Hi, this is Keith, and I'm here with video 16 of my How the Government Should Work series. And today we're going to talk about immigration. I'm going to start this one off very similar to the way the last one started and tell you that no one in Washington has a plan to fix immigration. Not the Democrats, not the Republicans, not the White House. This fits into the overall agenda in terms of making the average citizen's interests first priority. To really understand immigration, you have to understand that it's more complex than you're ever told about on the news. So there's two different ways of getting into the country, legally and illegally, and there's two different current immigration status, legal or illegal. An example of legal entry, legal status is somebody who's come here on a student visa, work visa, it's currently here legal, came in legally. Somebody who came in, an example of somebody who might have come in illegally but is now currently legal status are DACA participants, TPS participants, people of that sort. Usually they're given a temporary legal status. And then there's legal entry but illegal status. That's people who come in on a legal visa but overstay their visa and just stay here after the visa expires. And then finally you've got illegal and entry, illegal status. And that's generally people that cross the border illegally and stay here. And if you want to deal with immigration, you have to deal with all four of these possibilities. Often you'll hear people talk about just one, the border crossings. And what you'll see later is that that's not the primary method people come to this country. It's the visa overstays. It's the primary method. Some decisions you have to make if you want to solve immigration. How many people do you want to immigrate to the United States? What kind? What kind of immigration do you want? What country, skill, age, etc. How well should we secure our borders if you want to deal with immigration? How do you want to do that? With wall, technology, other? Should we monitor and eliminate visa overstays? We don't currently do that. What do we do about illegal entrants who currently have legal status, DACA, TPS, etc.? And what do we do with all other illegal entrants? Should they stay in the U.S.? Should they be deported? Should they be given legal status? Should they be given a path to citizenship? All questions you have to answer. And finally, what do we do about companies that hire illegal immigrants? And currently, we don't do anything to companies that hire illegal immigrants. And you can see where the things I highlighted in red there, those are two areas that, unless you're willing to solve those two things, you're not really solving the immigration problem. Next chart is what my ideal immigration policy changes would be in this country. And before I get into the details, overall message is, if you're going to make a deal with the American people on immigration, a comprehensive deal, you've got to make sure that you satisfy what they need as well as what's good for their country. So it's going to be good for the people in the country and good for the country. And I think these policy changes satisfy both of those. And so I'll just go through them quickly. What types of immigration, what kind of immigration, or what level? I think a balanced mix of skill, age, country. I think people who are poor should be allowed to immigrate to the United States, but we ought to look for people with skills as well. I think legal immigration ought to be about 2 million per year. Immigration fuels the U.S. economy and GDP. U.S. birth rate is low. We have an aging population. If we want GDP to keep growing, we need to make sure we have immigration. I'd say about 2 million a year. But you have to make sure that you're training American citizens in low-paying jobs to help them move up the ladder. Because if you're bringing in immigrants and you're not making sure that you help the Americans, then that's not a good bargain for Americans. And so that's why I go back to, I want to train 5 million American workers into higher paying jobs in the first 2 years. And partly to do that is to help American citizens, but partly also to offset impacts of immigration. How well should we secure our borders? 100%. I think it's a combination of wall and technology, drones and things of that sort. I think if you don't make it a priority to secure our borders 100%, then you can't get the American people to buy into these other aspects of immigration. Should we monitor and eliminate visa overstays? Yes, we don't do that today. That's going to involve some technology solutions. This is the largest part of illegal immigration today, and if you want to get Americans to buy into these other aspects I talk about here, you've got to make sure you stop the visa overstays. What do we do about illegal entrants who currently have legal status? Give them a path to citizenship is the cheapest, most humane way forward. I know a lot of people don't like that. I just don't know how to argue that. We have a lot of other things to solve. Just give them a path to citizenship and be done with it. What do we do with other illegal entrants, border crossings and visa overstays, people that are here? I say we give about 80 to 90% of them a path to citizenship. There's going to be some percentage of them that, for one reason or another, gang membership, criminal activity, whatever it is, that you're not going to want to give them a path to citizenship. I argue with the people that want to deport all illegal immigrants that they haven't really thought about what that really takes. It's expensive, and some people bring that up sometimes. I don't think that's the biggest issue. I think it would take years to find 20 million people that were trying to hide in this country once they knew that they were being rounded up. I think it would take years, and I think the nightly news coverage of doors being kicked down and children crying, I think people would very quickly turn against a mass deportation. Unfortunately, I would think it would take about 6 months to a year of that being on the nightly news for people to get sick of it, and the damage would be done in large part then. So I hope people can think forward to what our news would look like for years if we go kicking doors down to deport illegal immigrants. Finally, the biggest itch I have is we don't do anything to companies right now to hire illegal immigrants, and you have to fix that. You have to make sure companies guarantee citizenship of all employees. They have to make sure they meet all standards for employees, and they have to have big fines for hiring illegal immigrants, and you have to have random inspections to make sure that they're following it. You have to deal with supply and demand in immigration if you're going to solve the problem. Finally, how would I do it in terms of policy initiatives? Increasing immigration levels is something that the president has broad authority to do. So I would increase legal immigration levels to 2 million a year, making sure that I'm training current American citizens in low-paying jobs to move into higher-paying jobs so that they're not impacted by immigration. In terms of congressional legislation, I would go, again, 2 bills, one in the first 2 years, one in the second 2 years, small bite in the first 2 years, big bite in the second 2 years. In the first 2 years, hold employers accountable, eliminate visa overstays, improve border protection, and American worker training. Those are all the things that you have to give to the American workers before you can convince them to do what I want to do in Bill 2, which is basically give DACA, TPS, and other illegal immigrants a path to citizenship. And I misspelled citizenship. I thought it was with an S apparently, but a path to citizenship in the Bill 2. You have to do Bill 1, and you have to convince the American voters that you're going to do Bill 1 before you can convince them that it's okay to do Bill 2. Final thoughts. No one in Washington wants to fix immigration. It's too hard of a problem. I just went through the basics of what you have to do to fix immigration, and you can imagine how hard it would be to try to implement all that. The only real answer is compromise, strong border security, path to citizenship. Republican base won't accept a compromise at this point. And you must hold employers accountable. Campaign donors won't allow this. No one in Washington has a plan to fix immigration. They talk about it as a problem. They never tell you what the solution is, because real solutions require compromise, and no one wants that in today's political climate. So, on that pessimistic note, next time I'll talk about foreign relations. And I'm an independent, and I'm not voting for Democrats or Republicans anymore, and I don't think you should either.